The culture wars are exhausting. The real enemy and the real problem is unchecked, rampant capitalism. I am so tired of libs this and cons that. The problem is the 1% squeezing every last drop. I hear this a lot, especially after the American election. Now, let me just tell you, yeah, the 1%, but there are political parties way more affiliated with the 1%. And to pretend that that's not true is to completely put your head in the sand and pretend that what we're witnessing firsthand isn't happening. There's a reason that every single province that is heavily complaining about housing and about healthcare is at a provincial level being run by conservatives. Now, on the surface level of it, conservatives would say that they're for you. They always say that they're for you, but they take away social programs, which is what majority of people use in their day-to-day life. You take transit, that's a social service. Go to the hospital, that's a social service. You take mat leave, social service. There's a reason that every single time something has been brought up in the house that would benefit people, like children with free lunches, the conservatives vote against that. The entire system of politics in general is not very congruent to helping the little guy. But to say that both of them are equate to the two is just, I feel so disingenuous. I mean, we can look right now to the United States and see that the Conservative Party is bringing in an oligarchy, which is quite literally favoring the 1%. In Canada specifically, the reason you can't access the news on social media isn't because the government doesn't want you to have access to the news. It's because the government told social media websites, you are going to bankrupt our news outlets, because what would happen is you would take a link, like say a link from a news site, put it on Facebook. Facebook would take all the information from that web page, put it on Facebook so that they would get the ad revenue from sharing information on their page. So they would take everything, make it on their website. It wouldn't redirect you to the website where they could get revenue and ad share and make money off of the things that they were creating. And our government said, if you're going to do that, you need to be paying them for their information because they are the ones boots on the ground doing these things. And Facebook said, go fuck you. And then conservative people started coming forward and saying, our government is stopping us from being able to see the news. And that's not actually what happened. What happened was a 1% company, a billionaire company, did not want to pay people. And to say this is disingenuous to the problems that we face. I went to university for political science pre-law. I had never voted in an election when I went into my degree. But right before I could vote was the first time that Stephen Harper was voted out of office. I remember being around Canada, and you would see stop signs that say, "Stop Harper." And that's when I found out Harper had put a gag order on scientists. So anything that they were coming out with, any research they were coming out with, they had to get permission to publish it publicly from the government. That's so fucked. Some of the books I've read on finance, okay? One of the things that they talk about is how taxes were actually introduced to tax the rich. The rich just managed to find loopholes. They managed to make it so that all of the tax burden was actually passed down the line. So the people that were it was actually created to help build infrastructure and do all of that, they managed to figure a way out of it. And yes, it is the 1%, but to act like the two different parties are the exact same is very disingenuous. And you saw that play out in the United States with their election, with people not wanting to vote for either party because they were pro-watermelon. And now he's talking about building resorts on the bones. PP came out and said that he wants to go back to a John A. Macdonald time, that we shouldn't be ashamed of Canada's past. That is not the same thing. If you don't know, John A. Macdonald is the one who is credited for starting residential schools, the one that they put Indigenous children in, and then the Indigenous children just magically somehow ended up in unmarked graves. The real enemy and problem is colonization, which is built on racism, and the exploitation of land and labor by minority groups. And in the hierarchy of our society, the reason I talk about racism so much is because there's a lot of white people saying, oh, it's only the 1%. And it's like, yeah, it's the 1%, but it's also racism. It's people voting against the black educated woman because she's black.